feeling good. Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got the sunshine on my side.
So thank you so much for coming tonight. We put a lot of hard work into this event. Our speakers put a lot of hard work into their speeches, and we're so excited to share this with you, share this time with you, and just thank you for coming. There's a reason why each of you are here today. There's a purpose why you're here. You're going to receive a lot of wisdom. We're going to get a little vulnerable, share our journeys, share our unique stories, and yeah, there's something you can receive from each speaker. So I hope we can just create a safe environment for the speakers to be vulnerable and to share their stories with you. And my name is Ariana Cedeño, for those of you that don't know. I'm the chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So yeah, I'm just super excited to be here with all of y'all today.
Yeah, as Ariana was saying, we have a really great event, and we're really excited to share the space with you. And for any of you who I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, my name is Sam Timms, and I am the Social Affairs Chair for the Learning Communities. And you may be wondering, why purpose? Why did we settle on that as our theme? And when coming up with this theme, it actually started back in September. Ariana and I were planning for a totally different event, and we ended up getting completely distracted off topic, which I am particularly skilled at doing, so that was nothing out of the normal. And we ended up talking about the future and our plans for after college. And for all the seniors out there, you know when you get asked about the future, you give a very automatic response. It's not deep, you're quick. Ariana was, she said, yeah, I'm thinking about med school. I said, I'm not sure. I think maybe grad school, maybe something to do with environmental communications. And we kind of left it at that. Then we ended up diving a little deeper, and we had a great conversation about it, and we ended up realizing we actually have no idea what the hell we want to do. And that was something that's scary to admit, especially within an academic setting like this, where so many people are really trying to perpetuate, finding your purpose, and so many people are trying to push you to go in specific directions. And when you admit to yourself that maybe you feel lost, or maybe you're still struggling to find your purpose, that can be something that's really scary to admit. And that was something we talked about. And it was really reassuring for both of us to know that someone else felt that way. And then I brought this conversation back to my house. I brought it back to, talk about it with my friends. And I realized that it's actually something that a lot of people feel. And it shouldn't be isolating. It shouldn't be taboo within kind of our academic culture. It should be talked about. And so from there, we wanted to keep the dialogue going. And so that's kind of what inspired our event. We wanted to keep the dialogue going, perpetuate conversations about it, and find comfort in the fact that finding your purpose is a journey, and we're all in different places. So without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker, Professor Bradley Wright.
When people talk about purpose, they usually say things like, I want to find a purpose in life, or what's my purpose? Or positively, they say, my job gives me a lot of purpose, or I need a purpose, or I have a purpose that gets me out of bed in the morning. How we talk about purpose conveys our assumptions about it. When we talk about it this way, it casts purpose as a value that we add to our life. So if you have a meal and you add chocolate cake, it's a better meal. If you have a car and you add the luxury package, it's a better car. If you have a life and you add a purpose to it, it's a better life. So let's call this the a purpose model, as in, I want to have a purpose. Now, adding a slice of purpose to your life is a good idea. If the choice is between that and not having purpose, you definitely want to have a purpose. But there's more. There's actually another level of engaging purpose. So several years ago, I founded the Life Purpose Lab, and I've had the chance to work with some wonderfully talented students and also some wonderfully talented staff. And we have been researching how people find life purpose. And in the process, we created training seminars that help people to find purpose. In doing so, we've interviewed several hundred people, and we found a handful that were just different than the rest. Rather than rather than looking to add purpose as an add-on to their life, they understand what's most important to them. They know what matters. They know what's important. They understand their values, and they seek to live it out in every area of their life, from small to big. So let's call this approach an all-purpose approach, as in they want to have all purpose in all things. To distinguish the types of purpose orientations, let me give you a metaphor. Okay, so if you were at the beach, well, you'd be really cold because it's winter. Like, why are you at the beach? But let's move the metaphor to summer. If you go there during the summer, you'll see lots of people. Most people will be up on the sand. Some people will be in the water, but maybe up to their ankles, their shins, maybe their knees if they're brave. But a few will be like in the water. They'll be splashing, body surfing, playing, like diving into the waves. They'll be fully immersed. By analogy, that's how people approach purpose. Most people, frankly, don't meaningfully engage purpose. Some people dabble in it. They want purpose in part of their life. But a few go all in. They're fully immersed in it. These are all-purpose people. Let me tell you a story of one of the people that we studied. Her name is Sophia, and she's in her late 20s. She graduated from a top 20 university where she's valedictorian, and she won a prestigious national fellowship. But that's success, that's not purpose. The purpose that I want to tell you about came after that. Going into her summer after her graduation, she wanted to do something purposeful. She's a devoutly spiritual person. She's a devout Catholic. She also cares deeply about connecting with other people. And she also values being outside in the wilderness. So she spent a couple months planning her summer to make it as purposeful as possible. And she ended up in Colorado. She ended up on a ranch in Colorado. She ended up on a ranch that is run by Benedictine contemplative nuns. It's their abbey. When they're out doing ranchy things, they wear their habits, but they wear blue jeans and cowboy boots. When they're not, they're indoors and they're wearing the full habits, and they're sharing meals together, they're meditating, they're praying, they're doing services. That was her summer. But it didn't stop there. In the third year of her PhD program, and by the way, the PhD program was at Cambridge. She was given a full ride by the fellowship. In the third year, her sister and her sister's husband had their first child. Sophia took 5 months off of the prestigious National Fellowship at Cambridge to be a nanny. Why? She wanted to connect with her family. She valued family. She wanted to support her sister and get to know her niece. Even amidst her PhD study, she seeks to incorporate purpose in everything. One of her best friends is a 75-year-old shut-in 2 blocks away. On a weekly basis, she holds community meals to connect people. Even her research, which she spends a lot of time doing, she studies the neurological development of young children with an aim of helping disadvantaged children in the future. That's an all-purpose, an all-in, an all-immersive approach to purpose. So as my team and I have been studying purpose, and we've seen these kind of all-purpose people, we've noticed several patterns. One, they have a lot of purpose in their life, but it doesn't make it easier. In fact, it makes it tougher. The purpose adds difficulty. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. 2, the purpose leads people astray from conventional life. It leads them into an unconventional life. It's almost like purpose has a mind of its own, and it wants to drag the person along. And if the person goes with it, they end up in really interesting and sometimes weird places. And then 3rd, purpose evolves over time. It's not static. It's not like I didn't have purpose and now I have purpose. Rather, these people are constantly looking to have more and more purpose in every aspect of their life. So, let's turn to your life for a moment. You're in college, some of you are out of college. As you think about your future, if you want to have a good life, having a purpose will do it. But if you want to have a great life, if you want to have a life that inspires people, if you want to have a life that is profoundly meaningful, if you want to have a life that changes other people's lives, that ripples through the people you know and even across maybe generations, you're going to have to go all in. You're gonna have to be an all-purpose person. Thank you.
Thank you, Bradley. That was an amazing talk. So next we're gonna have up is Allie Davenport. Let's give a hand for Allie.
Hi, everyone. I want you to think about the last time you saw something and it made you think, this is interesting. Now I want you to think about, did you take action on that thought or did you just let it go by? So we grow up with the sense of curiosity, the sense of wonder, where all of our options are in front of us. We're so exploratory and we love to dive into this curiosity and our interests. But as we grow up, we're faced with the real world and we're faced with having to fit the molds that other people put on you. And so I'm gonna share with you a moment last year that made me go, this is interesting. So I saw this article online and it was about a 23-year-old building and selling a startup in college. And I was like, this is so sick, let me learn more about it. So I clicked on the link and started reading, and his name was Dan Schipper. And I just thought he was such an interesting guy, and I knew there was a lot of wisdom I can learn from him and his story. And so I found out that he had a podcast, and I started listening to the podcast. And I recently stumbled upon this tweet just last month that his company was co-hosting their very first writing conference live in New York City. And I was excited about it, and I said, this is really interesting, let me click on the link and learn more. No pressure, right? I click on the link and I'm like, wow, this is a conference I want to be at. But the tickets were a little expensive for me as a broke college student. And so I found his email and decided to just shoot him a cold email. I told him about the company StarMind that I'm building in college and just how I really resonate and look up to his story. And didn't think it would go anywhere, went about my day at stores. And much to my surprise, this dude responded to me and he was like, yeah, I'd love to have you there. Here's a student discount. And so now I had this very clear fork in the road decision to make. Do I let this moment pass and pretend that I didn't even send out the cold email? Or do I get on a train and go to New York City? And in this moment, Nike would tell me to just do it, right? Professor Keating from Dead Poet Society, he would tell me to carpe diem, seize the day. And if that advice it's so simple, but if that advice rang true for everyone, then everyone would be pursuing every action you wanted to take. And clearly that's not the case for me or anyone really. There are things that hold us back, and I was really interested to kind of unpack that. So the first thought was fear. Fear is this underlying human emotion that holds a lot of people back from taking action. And so, for instance, as I was getting ready to make a decision, my thought process was like, I don't feel ready to go to New York, right? Maybe I'll set some arbitrary date in the future when I'm a junior in the late spring, when I'm a senior, when my company hits X milestone, when I'm become more articulate, then I'll talk to Dan Schipper and go to New York. Then I'll be able to share this or that or take the action. But at the end of the day, ready is such a myth. And Casey Neistat, a YouTuber I look up to, he says the right time is always now. And that's so true, because you're never going to feel ready, and you have to just meet yourself with where you are now. Second thought that came up was this action comes naturally for them, but not for me. And so what I mean by that is this action of stepping outside your comfort zone and facing this fear head on, it comes naturally for the people I look up to. Like Dan, he's this invincible, incredible person, right? I put him on a pedestal. But the thing to remember, and once you talk to people who you look up to, you'll start to realize that these people are human and they felt the same fear, the same friction as they were going through these processes, and they decided to take action anyway. They did it scared. And then the final thought I had, which I think is a fear that holds a lot of people back, is what if I fail? What if I go to New York and then have a terrible conversation and make a fool out of myself or whatever? You can kind of catastrophize as you will. And it's important to remember this quote from Henry Ford, where he says, the only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. If you look at the book's graphic, we're all students, and when we're in the class, we learn about theory, and that's great. And then we can have conversations with other people who have put themselves out there and tried and failed, and we can learn from their stories, and that's also great. But the best way in which you can learn is to make the mistakes yourself, because it hits home and it's deeply personal and you're not gonna make that mistake again. And that is where the true knowledge can be learned. And so it's important to remember that distraction, whether it be these thoughts, these fears, the doubts, it could even be outside noise from people around you as they kind of push you in a million directions of what they want you to do. In those moments, you have to let your curiosity pull you. That's how you can get pulled towards your purpose. And so 2 weeks ago, I let curiosity pull me, and I went to the New York event. And I am looking back now, 2 weeks out from it, I am so glad I didn't let that fear hold me back. I had great conversations. I met a student from Parsons School of Design. I was by far the youngest one there. I talked to Dan, and we're grabbing coffee in June in New York City. So I manifested that a year ago. And it was a moment that was really a small win for me, because I was able to keep on having these moments of like, okay, do I make this decision to be risky or do I play it safe? And every time that I decided to be risky, I was proving that competence to myself. I was kind of restructuring my internal narrative that I was the type of person that could do hard things, and I was the type of person that could do scary things. And so by proving my competence, that's totally gonna increase your confidence. And by increasing your confidence, it builds momentum for the next time you're presented with this choice to either be risky or play it safe, and it's going to allow you to execute on this next small win. And so this creates such a loop of iteration and momentum, and I really just urge you all, as you're listening to this and as you leave the student union after the event, just to listen to that voice of curiosity, that voice saying, this is interesting. Because if you lean into it and trust it, it will guide you towards a life of wins, both big and small. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. That was awesome, and that was really inspiring too. All right, up next, our next speaker is Linda Tran.
Hi. So when people think of purpose, they really often think of like a reason to live or like a goal in life that you want. To me, though, that may be it for some people, it's not really the full thing. It's kind of like the small cog in a machine that just keeps on turning no matter what happens. Now, to me, a purpose is to find a path that makes you happy. We all experience different things, and we all go through different parts of our lives and react differently to everything. So why should you listen to what other people have to say? And for me, I think our job and purpose in this world is to find that path that makes us happy, because we know what we love and we can build a world around that. Now, I was raised in the stereotypical Asian household where we had a tight family, strict rules, but most importantly, high expectations. Now, I'm not the only one in here who's been through high expectations. I know that for sure. But it seemed like my parents had a plan for me. Now, they often said to be the stereotypical, be a doctor, be an accountant, be something that evaluates up to success. And for a while, I believed that. I believed it as if it was the reason I was born. Me and my sister prided ourselves off of being straight A students and getting as many accomplishments as possible. And that was all we could do under their eyes. I continued living like this as if it was my reason that I was born. And in middle school, I had already agreed with myself that in college, I would study either economics, so I can work in the stock market, or computer science, so I can study programming. And by this time, I was going into high school, taking early college classes, AP, and other honors classes, while juggling being in clubs and sports, trying to get as many scholarships as possible. Now, a lot of people probably saw me as an overachiever, which is true. I like evaluating things, and really, deep inside, I was just a people pleaser to my parents. I wanted them to be so happy with what I was doing, and I wanted them to see me as a successful child. And for a while, that was all my purpose. All my purpose was to make them happy and to be a successful child, even if it hurt me. Now, senior year is probably when everything changed for me, and it wasn't because of going into college. Now, while struggling with classes, I was very lost. Lost because I wasn't enjoying anything I was doing anymore. I hated talking with my friends. I hated going to school. I hated art. I hated pretty much everything I was doing in my life. I had so much anxiety and so much burnout from what I was doing that I was considering not even going to college anymore. And days were repeating, and I was unhappy. That's all it was. I was just really unhappy. And sadly, it took me having a mental breakdown over a single math assignment for anyone to even see what I was truly going through, for anyone to really see that I didn't like where I was going. It didn't help that my parents were very adamant on me going into computer science during college, and I did so much to achieve all these accomplishments. I struggled to realize that it was too much. And all I really knew what to do anymore was just to cope. That's all I really knew what to do, because I didn't know what else to do anymore. During that time, I was part of the yearbook committee, and they were looking for artists, actually, to add some work to fill up some pages. Now, I took art classes, and I had nothing better to do, so why not give it a shot? What could hurt? And turns out, I really enjoyed drawing, and I really enjoyed designing and scribbling down on pages. It brought me more enjoyment than anything I did, programming or economics. And it's what I wanted to practice long term at this point. Now, I liked it so much that I actually joined a mini exhibit with my art teacher and created some drawings and found the real joy in doing a long, excruciating process of just using my pencil on a paper. Now, art isn't really looked too fond upon in Asian culture, so bringing this up to my parents was one of the hardest things to do. And to this day, they still try to convince me that I should switch my major. And though it's sad, it's true. It's true for most kids like me. Now, if there's anything I want people to take away from me talking and spilling my life here, is that your purpose isn't defined by anyone, really. It's your purpose and your happiness alone. And it can be anything in this world that you find or run into. The best path may not be a good path for you. Now, I developed a bad mentality and anxiety over this path that my parents gave me, and though it would lead me to success, I know that I would not be happy, nor ever will be happy, if I was a programmer or in economics. The best thing for you to do in your journey is prioritize that happiness that you want so badly. And studying art for me was the best choice I made for my happiness, no matter what my parents said. Even if my future is uncertain, and even if I know that artists will go through excruciating struggles and hurdles just to be successful, I am okay and content with where I am with my life and studying art here at UConn. Even if you have no clue of what you want to do, like even if you're in ACES, or even if you're still wondering what you want to do in the end of college, take some wisdom from my dad. Step by step, take one day at a time. Nothing is set in stone, and everything is subjected to be changed. However, that path you take will all depend on what you think is best for you. You are your own purpose. And keep in mind, it's not about the world around you. It's about the world you build for yourself. Be happy in it. Because, well, it's your world. You deserve to be happy in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that story. It's beautiful to see the lessons you took. So next up, we have Nick Delaney. So let's give a hand up for him.
This one too? Thank you. Oh, awesome. Thank you. I don't know how I'm supposed to follow everybody here. I don't have anything memorized at all, so we're just going to go right off the rip. How many folks in here know exactly what they need to be doing right now? And I'm not talking about like a couple weeks from now or before spring break or anything. Like in this moment, exactly what they're supposed to be doing right now. If you answer something along the lines of listening to this guy in Buddy Holly glasses ask an oddly deep question, then I owe you some sort of compensation if you know who Buddy Holly is and you're under the age of 30, so see me afterward. But that question provides a unique response that's personal. You may have said my corny joke as a response, but maybe you thought that purpose is different, right? Or maybe you thought that I'm trying to find out somebody's perception of purpose to see if it aligns with mine. But in those unique responses is the development of what I consider your authentic self. So a sense of self is a virtue, and it's constantly evolving based on a number of different factors. And those factors can lead to a true version of yourself and your makeup. An identity, or your authentic self, which is what I want to chat with you all about this evening. So the notion of the development of the authentic self is actually backed by some academic data, but don't worry, I'm not going to throw up a bunch of graphs and dry academic material that will bore you. Instead, I'm going to do what I do best and be my authentic self by providing you with a little experience with it. So a little bit of a story time here. Ugh, what a brutal pick. That's me, 2021. 3 years before that, in fall 2018, it was the third year of my doctoral program in educational leadership. And I was in a class titled Dissertation Synthesis Seminar, which sounds a lot scarier than it actually was, but it was actually still pretty scary, to be very honest with you. And I was confident. You know, the first couple of years that I was in that program, I was really like, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I understood the research. I was working here at UConn while I was in school, so I was able to like apply a lot of the same stuff to the research that I was doing. I was just so ready to get the dissertation process started. And after some writing, because all you ever do in those things is write, my advisor came up to me and asked, so what is your topic? What do you want to write about? And I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. And Sam kind of said this before. It's like, we don't know what the hell we're doing. Nobody knows what they are. Even if you're at like the highest peak of where you are academically, personally, professionally, it's totally fine. I had no idea. My advisor kind of smiled and provided me some of the best advice that I've ever received in helping me choose. And she said, if you can't make sense of yourself, try making other things make sense. It's a bit wordy, but it really helped me. In a total Yoda moment, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. She handed me a book that was titled Sense Making in Organizations, which was written by this gentleman right here, Carl Wick, who, by the looks of it, has a real pulse on the human experience. Wick wrote a lot about organizational culture and how understanding roles relate to a purpose and can ultimately lead to fulfillment, passion, and a better sense of oneself, or as he referred to it, as sense-making. One of the most interesting things that this guy did was he laid out 7 characteristics to make sense of sense-making, and I won't do that pun ever again, I promise. Through these mechanisms, individuals could build a better understanding of their role in the context of an organization. And that was really helpful because I was looking at organizational patterns and roles within organizations, but I wanted to dig a bit deeper and kind of get a better understanding of a sense of self from an individual's perspective within that context. So what I did was I took those 7 characteristics that he made and I put them into 2 adjusted groups: individual intuition-based characteristics and environmentally constructed characteristics. Basically, how a person can develop a true sense of themselves and the roles they play based on their own feelings and the feelings of others. My plan was to use these 2 adjusted groups to interview folks about how they do a particular job and how they were able to fill their own cup, and without knowing it, help develop their sense of the authentic self. So this led me to interviewing a bunch of different people. Primarily it was executive level deans at colleges across the Northeast about their approach to making sense of their role and their identity in these roles. What was so fascinating was the interview questions that I had, which consisted of about 20 questions that were all asked the same exact way of each participant in the same context, and these folks were doing the same jobs at the same institution types. What was fascinating was every single one of them had largely different answers when it came to the question of how they saw themselves. So one of them would say that they were a middle manager. Another one said they're a facilitator. Another one said mentor and teacher. They all had different answers to a simple question because how they saw themselves, even though they're in the same role at the same type of institution, was unique to their authentic self. However, even though their answers are different, they used it actually to help me build not only the title of this presentation, The Journey of the Authentic Self. All these participants were middle managers or facilitators or mentors or whatever, but all of them discussed the development of established purpose. Essentially to them, perception led to purpose, which is how they found fulfillment in their role. So these folks found connection through what they believe their job is, tying it in with passion, impact on the greater good, and other factors. This is the Akigi model, which shows the development of established purpose and is an image that's sort of visual representation of what these folks are talking about and can be a great starting point when trying to determine your journey to the authentic self. So go back to the question that I asked at the beginning. A lot of you are grouped together by something similar here. You might be a student or faculty, staff, whatever member of the UConn community you are, but all of you might have had a different answer to what are we supposed to be doing here right now. Your responses were uniquely different, even if it was by one word, the inflection in your head, or any other mitigating personal or environmental factor. Your answer to that and every other question helps establish who you are and your approach to what you need to do in order to establish purpose. You continue to feel that sense of purpose by being your authentic self. And your cup will be ever filled if you keep adding to it based on how you see yourself and how true you are to that notion. So for all of you looking to understand purpose, how to grow in your chosen field, how to emulate somebody that you admire or want to be, it all starts with knowing who you are and what you value. So I implore you, when you leave here tonight, start thinking about ideas, who you are and what you're supposed to be. And remember, you are on the journey to establishing your authentic self. And the truest and most unique sense of identity available is all on you. And spoiler alert, it's true to you and you alone. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you so much, Nick. That was really reassuring. And up next, we have Karina Figueroa.
Hey y'all, can we just take a deep breath together really quick? Thanks for doing that with me. Sometimes I need a reminder. I'm so grateful to be here today with all of you. And just to preface my speech a little bit, I don't believe in coincidences. So it's with no doubt in my mind, you're all supposed to be here right now. My name's Karina Figueroa. I'm 22 years old, and I'm finally about to receive my degree in psychology. Thank you. It has been a long 4.5 years of undergrad, and as this chapter is finally coming to a close, I'm still kind of pondering what my next steps are. I transferred here in the fall of 2021, so I know a thing or two about redirection and feeling lost. My old university, there were so many circumstances that weren't making me happy, and yet I was still forcing myself to enjoy it. This is when I realized if I don't constantly go after the things that bring me joy and instead do things that I think are expected of me, then I'm not being true to myself. Transferring was one of the scariest decisions that I made, but I trusted myself in knowing it was the right one. And that's why today I want to talk to you guys about the truth to finding purpose. Society feeds us this misconception that the career that we choose, what we decide to do for a living, is where our purpose lies, but this never sat right with me because it makes purpose sound like a destination when in reality, purpose is a journey. It's not a pursuit, it's something that we need to deeply feel. It's not about what skills I possess to help me make a living, but about simply living life to the fullest. This means that every step you take, move you make, word you speak has meaning to it. This life you're experiencing is a gift. Everything that happens in this lifetime works for you rather than against you, all towards a greater, bigger picture. I learned how important it is to, truly self-assess and be intentional with how I feel inside. When I was feeling disoriented or longing for fulfillment, I had really just lost parts of myself in the process. To constantly walk with purpose starts by looking within and being honest. Our purpose does not exist outside of ourselves. There may be things in this world that we attach to our identity, but the world cannot tell us who we are. You won't find yourself out there. My desire to travel isn't solely based on the beauty of the world, but because of the part of me that appreciates it. I don't love reading because I'm a word enthusiast, but because of my imagination and my zest for learning. We're not only studying to become that profession because of the money we'll make, but because what that job stands for aligns with our morals, or at least it should. And even then, one can study for years, land the job, and it turns out they actually absolutely hate it. But this doesn't mean that they failed. It just means that this isn't where they were meant to be, and that's how they were supposed to learn that lesson. What we decide to do next when the chance for redirection arises is what matters. We only do ourselves a disservice by staying in places that don't fulfill us. Seek the things that you feel that deep calling toward. But you see, if you don't tune in, then you can't hear the call coming from inside the house. Listen and honor that voice inside of you. Call it intuition, call it God, your higher self, what have you. Just make sure that wherever you are, your cup is being overflowed instead of you constantly pouring from a half-empty one. When I looked into the mirror and I didn't recognize the person staring back at me, I knew I needed a change. I needed to get to know her first and foremost so that way I can show up as her. I've had to do a lot of work to find myself, and even then, I'm constantly learning something new. We're always evolving and growing as we're meant to, and as we change, your passions may change with you. We each have different talents or gifts that we possess, but the purpose is universal: to live, to learn, to love. It's how it manifests in your life that's unique. Stand firm in yourself and know you are multifaceted. Apply who you are to what you do, not the other way around. Don't let your self-worth become reliant on external forces. When I was looking toward the world to tell me what to do or who to be, I was at my absolute lowest. And now when the world tries telling me to change, I don't even bat an eye. And when the life hits me with unexpected, as it so often will, I won't be shaken because I've built that strong, sturdy foundation inside of me. There's a newfound confidence in knowing every step is purposeful. I had to get real, vulnerable, and comfortable with the uncomfortable. I decided to treat myself like the love of my life and only the best for my one true love. It's about sitting with yourself, being intentional, and asking the hard questions. What are my likes and my dislikes? What makes me cry? What are my triggers? What brings me joy? How am I getting in my own way? How deep does my fear of failure really go? We have to know our morals, what brings us joy, what lights us up. We need to know the why for the things that we're doing. Otherwise, it can just become too easy to do things out of habit. I grew tired of just doing without feeling. Getting to really know me was vital. That way, wherever I find myself, I can be grateful to be there and excited for what else it can bring. My last step on my journey within was to find people that inspire me. We are an interdependent species, so community is very important. One of the most beautiful things about this human experience is how we're each here learning for the first time together. And at some point, you will be in the role of student or teacher. You have something valuable to teach other people, as no one has lived your life experience in the same way that there's something valuable to learn from every person we encounter. Inspiration comes from many directions, and often in places that you'd least expect it. Opening up your heart and your mind leads to a glorious exchange of energy between you and the world you inhabit. Not just a give or a take, but a blend. The name who's inspired me most on my journey is Yahshua ben Yosef, or as many people have come to know him, Jesus Christ. Religious and other spiritual beliefs aside, one thing is certain: you can believe in people. I exist as you exist, therefore we can believe in each other. There are a plethora of writings on the existence of a man named Jesus and his teachings, some by even non-Christians. Jesus was a man who walked this earth as you and I do. The only difference was he never had to wonder what his purpose was, for he was blessed with the gift of already knowing. Now, we possess this inner knowing as well, but to a different degree and with exceptions. Except we have to run around like chickens with no heads till we get a reminder, but him, he knew. He knew he was here to serve others and bring peace. To put it simply, he showed the people of earth the power of love, kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. How when you practice this towards yourself, not for personal gain, just to have peace inside, then we can extend this to other people and transform our outer world. When your inner world is balanced, everything else falls into place. When I started looking towards Christ as a guide, it brought me to the realization that everything in this life is part of a greater purpose. The hardships as well as the joy all work to my greater good and the goodness of humanity. If I hadn't known what it was like to live without truth, I couldn't be up here telling y'all how I found it. And if my words today inspire only one person, then the job is done. Purpose filled. My existence, your existence, is no accident. In times of discouragement, I know I can turn to him to remind me that as long as I'm here, I'm full of purpose. The peace that he preached about has reassured me that all is well, even when I can't yet see it. So here's what I wish to leave with you today. Get to honestly know yourself, for yourself, not who the world has told you to be, not from the lens of other people. Be intentional with your words, actions, and beliefs. Stay true to who you are, not what you can become. Live authentically with kindness, humility, patience, gratitude, and love. In this way, you always end up right where you're meant to be. Find yourself to walk with purpose. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Karina. That was beautifully said. I love how you brought up that purpose isn't about the destination, right? It's about the journey there, and it's about being fully present in the moment. So with that being said, next up we have a special performance. It's a spoken word by our very own Josh Brown.
Can we give it up for all the speakers so far? So my name is Josh Brown. I will be giving you a spoken word poem, and I usually perform under the name An Urban Nerd, obviously. There's no name for this poem. The original African religion had a different perspective of time. See, they believed we experience time simultaneously, past, present, future, all occurring at once. In my mind, this means we can experience every moment all at the same time. We could be everything, everywhere, all at once. But you see, the question is no longer, how are you? But instead, it's where are you? Where are you? It's the end of 2022. My toes sink into the sand while I race my students on the beach. I look out to the water from Ghana and realize for many of my ancestors, this was their last view of their homeland. I feel them rejoice and dance as I found my way home. Where are you? It's 1995. I'm excited that I just got my birthday bike. I wipe crust from my eyes and I thank my parents. The bike was my first taste of speed and many, many scrapes and bruises. Where are you? It's June 2004. We're visiting my grandma in the hospital. I hate the smell as it stinks sterile and smells of ammonia. My grandma can't speak much, but it's the first time she recognizes I've grown into a man. To this day, we imitate her speech and mannerisms whenever my cousins come visit. It's 1994. I climb into my grandpa's famous van. He drove all the way from Indiana to Virginia to see his grandkids. At 25, I realized why I love road trips so much. And in 2015, I drive from DC to California. Where are you? It's 2002. My father retires from the military and we're forced to move. I struggle making friends and I can count on one hand the number of black students. That year, I fall in love with anime and science and join the soccer team. It's 2005. My sister is home from winter break and I'm excited to hear about the college experience. She complains about professors and homework and needing a map to navigate the store's campus. She summarizes by telling me not to grow up. Where are you? It's December 2007. I just received my early acceptance to Howard University. I'm excited and nervous because my senioritis was already bad enough. My guidance counselors congratulate me on the news. It's May 2008. My family pile into the car to see my sister graduate. It's the first time I step foot in Gamble. The sheer magnitude of her graduation class leaves me lost for words. She is the first in our family to graduate from college, and we framed the picture. The next time I step foot in the arena, it would be as an employee. Where are you? It's July 2008. I graduate from high school and go out to celebrate. It tastes bittersweet as in the morning I will be headed to my college program. It's August. My father helps me unload my things and I quietly rush them out the dorm so I can go meet the rest of my classmates. I blink and it's September. A student tells me they can't hang out because they have to study for their midterms. I reply, "What are midterms?" They look at me perplexed and keep moving. The end of the semester, I'm shocked when I receive a 1.8. In 2022, I share this moment and laugh with a student as I encourage them for surviving their first semester. Where are you? It's 2010. The stress from school and my internship mix and leave me drained and anxious. I appear unfazed, but I implode like a shaken soda can. I take a semester home and attend UConn as a part-time student. This will be my first time seeking therapy. It's November 2022. I get a call from one of my students. He tells me about his first therapy session. We laugh, saying that he cried in front of this stranger. I hold back tears on the other line and tell him that I am proud of him. Where are you? It's spring 2025. We ask you all to stand and face the audience as we introduce you all as the graduating class of 2025. You cheer, you clap, and throw your hats in the air. The late nights studying and playing Super Smash Bros. Being more than worth it. Family and friends travel across the country or tune in virtually, but this is just the beginning of your journey. It's 2027. A class graduate produces the first documentary and are excited to premiere it here in this theater. It's 2027, it's 2029, members of the class of 25 graduate with their doctorates. We now have past students teaching students. It's 2035, a graduate helps convert UConn's grid running predominantly on green energy. Another grad produces their first screenplay and another turns it into a book. You all inspire one another. Where are you? I stand here. March 7th, approximately 7:25, stepping back on Storrs campus to commemorate you. My heart is racing, palpitating, yet I yearn for these moments to feel connected, like our ancestors before us. Me dropping out of school, me going to therapy, me still being in therapy, me graduating from Howard, me speaking to you from this stage, all occurring at the same time. Me falling from my bike, me being told I'm not smart enough to be an engineer, me failing my poetry class, me giving my speech at the Future Nesby conference, all at the same time, and you slaving to complete college applications, you chasing down letters of recommendations, you getting accepted to UConn, you fighting through finals, you sitting here in this theater, you walking across your own stage, all at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Your words were so powerful and beautiful, and I was hanging on to every one. And up next, we have Brian Ozen Jr.
So first, good evening, everyone. Thank you for even coming out tonight. Loan me your ears and eyes as I share my personal journey of accepting and embracing change throughout my college journey. So we're going to take it back 3 to 4 years ago, which was fall 2019, my freshman year of college. Like many other students, I was excited to be away from home where I could just simply be me, away from my parents' influence and where I can meet new people. I'm an extrovert. This was my scene. My social life prospered as I thrived in my learning community, shout out to Scholars House, a place where I felt home along with connected to other learning community students. I involved myself in different spaces, organizations, different clubs on campus where I could discover aspects of myself and my identity. I majored in political science, having aspirations to be a lawyer or working somewhere in government, but not really knowing the reason why. I felt maybe because I'm great at history or I was constantly told I was a great debater, I should be a lawyer. So I winged it and I held on to it because I wasn't sure of everything else. How many of us have had those feelings of uncertainty and confusion? The truth is, I didn't know what I truly wanted to do or be. I was 18 and I was just content that I made it to college. But where do I go was the question. So I started my own personal journey of self-fulfillment. I attended alumni networking events, courthouse cases, viewed cases, met with lawyers and politicians alike to get a feel of having a degree in political science, or this should be the route I should continue down. I asked questions about being fulfilled within their job, or how did they know they wanted to pursue the specific career that they were in. All answers seem to involve a journey or having a plan until that plan is changed by a universal event or a shift in focus. No one's journey didn't go exactly as they planned, yet they arrived at the destination where they wanted to be and where they felt needed. My takeaway was, where do I want to be? Especially, where do I want to be here at UConn? What space would challenge me academically? I showed up and did the work for my classes, but I didn't see myself within my work. I didn't feel the same excitement as my peers for my major. They felt that this was their passion for it, while I felt the direct opposite. And I began to function on autopilot, and college became a limiting experience. I realized I wasn't retaining any information, and my interest began to fade. I was unfulfilled, and this was not the plan. So, filled with new experiences, my freshman year was a roller coaster, and then the pandemic came and it made it a lot worse. I was filled with confusion and uncomfortability. The pandemic came in with massive changes in the way we think, the way we show up for ourselves, and the way we live. But for me specifically, it came in with many self-reflections, including what I wanted for myself, specifically what did I want out of my college journey. I was feeling really unsatisfied and disconnected with remote learning, and I began to question the point of everything. Do I even know what I want? Do I even know what I like? Or is this just cultural conditioning? Or is this societal programming? Is this me or is this them? Are you living a life for yourself, or are you living a life for others and their expectations? The biggest question of them all was, why did I stay in political science if I felt unfulfilled? The truth is, I was hesitant to switch because I wouldn't know where to go from there. To my peers and friends, I seemed confident that I had it figured out, but in reality, I was just great at masking my confusion. I didn't know what was suited for me or what my purpose was. I was pursuing a life path through others' expectations and what they thought was best for me. But I had to be honest with myself, and I had to invest time and energy to get to know myself, to find out what is it that truly makes me passionate? What is it that makes me me? Finding what made me passionate became my focus, and personal development became my practice. I was clueless of when all the sudden shifts and changes would end, but I knew I wanted to come out a better version of myself with much more assurance. So I opened myself to change, and I had to admit I don't have this figured out. I really don't, and I did not know. But this was the first step into acceptance. It was a time for me to take a risk and begin experimenting with my identity. I couldn't just keep existing in college. That's not living. I decided I wanted to live my authentic self and grow outside my cultural, social conditioning. I realized we won't grow and learn doing what we always done and thinking what we always thought. We need to move beyond our comfort zones and engage in the new and the different things that expands ourselves and challenges ourselves. So I took a risk and I switched my major to HDFS, which is Human Development, Family Sciences, and I took up a minor in Africana Studies. And I was pushed to become a floor mentor, and then eventually a floor mentor TA, and then the wellness chair. All of these spaces contributed to my identity. My personal well-being, family, and ideas were all academic areas of interest for myself. But also, I wanted to impact the environments that I showed up in, the spaces that I engaged in. How did my environment, my social influence, and race contribute to my thinking? Because I was so passionate to understand self, I felt the same for others. I wanted to be challenged. I wanted to exchange new ideas, information, and meet new people. And that took me stepping outside my comfort zone. I had to share my own experiences in life. I had to be vulnerable. I had to share my own questions, my own anxieties. And that all came into getting to know people. And I was challenged. Everyone has a voice, so let it be heard. So where am I at in my current journey? The truth is, I'm on the journey of knowing. Through trials and triumphs, I'm continuing learning aspects of myself. I realized as children, we placed no limit on our aspirations or the things we wanted to be. The sky wasn't the limit for us because we were limitless. And the truth still reigns true. We are limitless. We are multifaceted. We are multi-talented, and we are expressive beings. And with that being said, you don't choose your purpose because your purpose chooses you.
Thank you, Brian. That was really well said. Are you living a life for yourself or are you living a life for others? I know I could sit with that. But next up, we have Robin Matus. Let's give a round of applause.
Okay. Hi. Ooh, microphone. Okay. College was this big moment for me, as it was probably for most of us, in terms of not only finding myself, but my purpose. And so I went to school chasing the major that I thought was perfect for me. I was studying forensic science on a path towards forensic anthropology. And I thought I knew exactly where I was going, where it was going to lead me. And then I actually went to school. I think now's a good time to mention I'm a transfer student. So I've been hopping from school to school, searching for the major and the career path that would be right for me, and in turn, my purpose. And 2 schools later, I find myself here at the University of Connecticut studying American Sign Language. Quite a jump from forensic science, I know. But it's great. I love it. The people, the staff, the courses themselves, it's great. And my purpose, I could not tell you. So now I have to rethink my entire understanding of purpose. If my career and my major aren't synonymous with my purpose, then how the hell am I supposed to find that? It's like being given a treasure hunt, except you don't know what the treasure is, and you're not given a map either. Just kind of a little shove of good luck, and suddenly you're on your own. My personal treasure hunt has been slow, to say the least. There was no grand epiphany, no light bulb moment where it just kind of hit me in the head and left me kind of staring into space, like thinking about it. No, it was nowhere as grandiose. The time I thought I understood my purpose best, I was at Starbucks. Every month, the deaf community in my hometown meets up at the local Starbucks to just chat. And if I'm lucky, there will be ASL students there that me and my good friend have very lovingly dubbed baby signers. And if there's baby signers present, I can very kindly force them into conversation so they can be more open and comfortable with signing. And it was during one of these events where I thought, hey, this is it. This is where I belong. And about 30 seconds later, I was like, okay. See, now I kind of got it. I was in this cramped little coffee shop surrounded by deaf and hearing signers alike, and I understood then better than I had before. I was doing what I was made to do. I was living, which I can hear you all groaning at that statement, so let me elaborate a little bit more. Living obviously has different meanings to different people. For me, it has to do with guiding baby signers through the battlefield that is second language acquisition and spreading respect and awareness for ASL and the deaf community alike. It's important to me. It makes me truly happy. Now let me ask you this. When you were a kid, what was the most important thing to you? Just kind of think about it. All right, got an idea? I remember specifically walking into class and sizing up all the other kids by the amount of crayons they had. Kids with the 48 box crayons felt like royalty, till you walked in with the 128 box with the crayon sharpener and you showed them all up. You had colors in that box you didn't even know existed. But the second someone needed a color for anything, you were on it. You were there. See, that was important to you as a kid. That made you genuinely happy. And you're seeing where I'm going with this. You might even say, as a kid, it might have been your purpose to hold the crown in the crayon battlefield of your elementary school. And you're thinking, all right, guy, what good is 128 crayons gonna do me now? I have bills to pay, classes to go to, exams to study for. And isn't it so strange how our priorities grow and change as we do? And isn't it so strange we don't consider our purpose would do the same? And why wouldn't it? It's been beside us the whole time. I mean, maybe unnamed, but it's been there. I feel like we have to be comfortable with ourselves first, and then our purpose might be comfortable with us too. Purpose comes with this unwavering sense of belonging, and maybe you haven't felt that yet. That's okay. The whole world is ahead of you. There's a spot waiting for you to fill it in where you just feel like you belong. That's something only you can decide, not someone else, only you. I don't think purpose needs to be this big lurking thing that we always make it out to be. You kind of were raised to believe it's like a one and done deal. You either get it right, or if you don't, then good luck next time. I don't know what to tell you. But I can't believe that. And I don't think purpose needs to be complicated. It can be as simple as a box of 128 crayons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think, breaking down purpose and grounding it in something very simple, that's very powerful, so thank you. And up next, we have Shravani Preki.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. I am so inspired and blown away by all the speakers here. First of all, thank you so much for speaking. And I'm gonna make a few mistakes, but I trust that you'll be patient with me. So, when I first saw the topic for this year's LT Talks, I had two thoughts. The first one is that I would absolutely fail to speak on that. And the second one is that I would love to speak on that. Finding your purpose. So important and so relevant for so many of us here, no matter what your age is. And it made me wonder what mine was. Even better, what is a purpose? After a lot of introspection on the topic, I realized that purpose means something different to everyone at different stages in life. I started thinking about myself right now. My purpose is to study and graduate and make friends. My purpose is to find out what I want to do in life so that I can start applying for things after college. This is what society tells me. But then what? If I achieve those things, what comes next? Is that all that I stand for as a person for the rest of my life? In this competitive world where everything seems like a rat race, we are trained to focus everything we have on the things that we need to achieve at that moment. For kids, it's school and extracurriculars. For college students like us, it's school, extracurriculars, internships, what comes after that. And as adults, it's jobs, marriage, everything else. All these expectations that society has set on us, and it never ends. And we're bogged down by our responsibilities and the pressure put on us, which limits our abilities to always choose what we love to do. Something that we mentioned in my interview for LT Talks with Ariana was alternate universes. If there was a universe where these societal pressures didn't exist, what would you choose to do? Who would you choose to become in that moment where you didn't have to think about capitalism or, what's the best job for me to make money? What do my parents want me to do? Like, what's going to help me get settled in life? What would you want to do in that alternate universe? I had to think about it. A lot of the choices and decisions I've made so far in life haven't always been what I like to do. It's something that I thought, maybe that's the best thing for me to do in this situation right now. But I also do have a lot of aspirations. I want to do a lot more than I think I can handle as a person. And all this introspection about my purpose has given me sort of a reality check, a much needed one. It taught me that our world and our capability as humans is limited. I remember being told as a kid that my purpose is to learn. Learn how to walk, learn how to talk, learn what is right from wrong, learn how to be a human that everyone can respect. And just keep learning endlessly. It hasn't stopped even today, and I don't think it ever will. Learning is a continuous process in every part of life, every part of our lives, and so is finding your purpose. I believe that a purpose in life doesn't have to be this huge thing that everyone makes it out to be. It could be, but it could also be simple. It could be momentous, arising in every moment you take for yourself and every decision you make, no matter how big or how small it is. I also believe wholeheartedly that your purpose can change based on your life experiences. Just like your interests and your passions in life change, you grow with yourself, and so do your beliefs and morals, and therefore, sometimes your purpose. If you pressure yourself into following that same path you set for yourself when you were like maybe 11, when you said, oh, I'm gonna become a fashion designer like I did to myself, I know firsthand the guilt and the identity doubt that follows when you divert from that path. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's okay if you're confused about your purpose. It's okay if it changes, and it's okay if you don't even know yet. Your purpose should be something that you want to do with everything in you, and something that you feel happy and satisfied fulfilling. Also remember that fulfilling a purpose looks different to everyone. There can be two different people doing different things with the same thought at heart. Despite all this said, finding a purpose is still hard, mind you. I know that. I'm someone currently struggling with finding my purpose. I came to a different country to maybe help me find something that I like doing as an international student. I'm actually from India. And I thought maybe I'd experience something that shows me a path or purpose in life that I'd like doing. If only. Here I am, far away from home, far away from the people that I know and love, that I grew up with, just as confused, if not a little more. But I realized, looking around me at all these students, that everyone is in a different part of life, even if we're the same age and year, even if we're in the same major. Some have found their purpose and some haven't. But most of all, I learned that we have to grow. We have to experience trial and error, and we have to fail sometimes. We need to try new things to know that it doesn't work for us, because only then will we know what truly makes us happy. You can never know if you don't try. The key word is finding, right? That's why I moved to the United States, even though I knew no one. That's why I'm giving this speech now even. Who knows if motivational speaking is my calling? It's not. I'm literally shaking in my boots. But after everything I've risked, I find myself in a beautiful place with new friends, new experiences, all these people around me, and I can call myself just that little bit stronger, just that little bit wiser, and just a little less confused than I was maybe 5 years ago. After all this, I also know myself better than I did before. That's new. I realized that I don't really know myself that well at all. But to know what my purpose is, I had to find what I like. And to know that, I had to know myself first. Going through so many experiences, I understand only now how important it is to sit with yourself and give yourself that time to actually introspect and understand yourself. And when you do this, you can truly and really be honest with yourself and find what sparks joy, as Marie Kondo said. And more importantly, the next step is to discard the things that don't, because you are only human and you can only do so much in this world before you start burning out, or you're already burnt out and then you reach that breaking point. I know, and I've seen it happen to the people around me as well. That isn't to say that you should limit yourself though. Pacing yourself and limiting yourself are two very different things, and only you know the line between those two things. A purpose in life is what you define of it. You are the only person who can know what you want to do and do something with it. So here is your sign to do so. Try all the things that you were unsure of trying before this. Go talk to those people that you were too nervous to talk to before this. Because once you take that step, who knows what you'll find. You may like it, you may not like it, you may love it, But when you take that step, wherever you reach, I can assure you that you're one step closer to finding your purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Shrav. I love that. So, last but not least, we have Jafon Stubbs. Let's give a hand.
Hi, everyone. So the downside of going last is going to look like I plagiarized everything because a lot of what everybody said was already on my presentation. Let's do a slide check. All right, boom. So, hi, everyone. My name is Jafon Stubbs, and my speech is entitled Wipers, Headlights, and High Beams, Driving Your Way to Purpose. All right? So, when I first saw the title of today's program and the graphic, I began to brainstorm. I thought about how purpose could sometimes be this mountain of a thing that we all try to conquer, but we don't have the tools or the strategies that we need to go around the mountain or get our way to the top. Looking at the graphic, we see a mountain with several different peaks, a winding road, some clouds, and a whole lot of potential, yeah? In my own personal brainstorming session, I imagine similar scenery where the air is refreshing and you're driving and you know you have a destination in mind, but you just can't see through the fog and the rustic mist. So, how do you make it to the top then? Do you drive with just a hope and a prayer that you'll make it to your destination? You could. You can also use tools that are built into the car to help you navigate your way to the mountaintop. Today, I just want to talk about some of those tools, those mechanisms, those strategies that can possibly help you get to your peak, that is, your purpose. We know that we use our wipers and in the snow and in the rain, and the same with our defoggers. We know to turn on our headlights when the natural light isn't sufficient, and our high beams when we want to see even further. Similarly, in the vehicle of life, driving to your purpose, this is me driving to my purpose, we have some things to help us. I'm a visual person, so yeah, I'm driving to purpose, guys. So, my backstory. I went to college to study biology in the hopes of one day becoming a physician. I was doing well in classes and on track to graduate on time, but toward the end of junior year, when I was supposed to have already been locked in with MCAT scores and med school applications, I had nothing. I found myself in a place where I had little to no motivation to invest anything in being prepared for medical school. That in itself worried me because I consider myself a pretty on top of things type of person, but there I was, almost at the end of a 4-year journey with basically no plans for life after graduation. I was an RA at the time, and I was pretty good at what I was doing, planning events, meeting new people, helping others with life problems, talking to amazing crowds in student union theaters, yeah. And it wasn't until I started self-reflecting, wipers, that I began to realize that I had real impact in the work I was doing with other students. So I have to keep the story brief, because if you let me talk about myself, I could talk all night. So, moving forward, realizing the impact I was having in this area of helping college students, that realization started to wipe away the unsureness I had been feeling about whether or not I really wanted to go to med school. So, fast forward to senior year, I realized there was no realistic possibility of me starting med school the following fall, no MCAT scores, no med school applications. So then I began having intentional conversations, headlights, with mentors, supervisors, colleagues, and peers about my plans for life after college. It was during those conversations that I began to gain more knowledge about careers and student affairs and how I could basically do RA-esque work for a full time and make a living out of making an impact. Sounds good, right? For me, this was a real eye-opener because I realized that at my core, I wanted to help people feel better and do better in life. But I thought that the best way and the highest grossing paying way to do this was medicine. But As the light of wisdom and shared experience started to shine on the fog of my future career path, I started to see more clearly that a career in student affairs would allow me to do the same thing, just in a different context and a different environment. So we're fast forwarding again. I ended up completing senior year, graduating with my degree in biology. But in my last semester, I made the decision to apply to a master's degree program in higher education. I completed my master's degree and got hired at the Great Yukon, where I now consider myself a social physician. Fancy, right? Ooh, I'm a hall director. That's my title. Now I work face-to-face with students, listening to their challenges and successes, giving them advice on how to do good, better, best in life, and even helping them course correct. Best of all, I'm able to use my own journey up my mountain of purpose that I'm still on to help others clear their own way. I use the tools in my car. Number one, self-evaluation and reflection. You have to know what's on the inside of you if you want to get to where you're going. So imagine you're trying to drive up a mountain and you think you're driving with an automatic transmission, but you're really driving a stick shift. You're going to make it way harder for yourself to get where you need to be. And my apologies if you're not a car enthusiast. I'm sorry. Number two, exposure. Life was not meant to be linear. The more experiences you add to your story, the more your personal life fits with the winding road that is life. Number three, having intentional conversations. There are folks that have been up the mountain before, they know where the potholes are, they know where the shortcuts are, and they can even hop in the car with you and help you navigate. Shoot, they may even be a car person if you're not, and they could help you understand all the tools and mechanisms in your own car. Again, finding purpose is not linear. Like the picture showed, the road can many times be winding and the peaks can be multiple. Your success is not just one place, one point, or one achievement. In this one lifetime, you can have multiple peaks of success, impact, change, and greatness. So no, purpose is not a point in place. Purpose is progressive. Hashtag just keep swimming. Even with life's tool belt, there will always be challenges and resistance. That's just the law of gravity as you go higher and higher and you gain altitude. But the small steps you make now, using those tools, will add up to big strides in the long run. Even a car, if it's moving an inch by inch, eventually it'll move a mile if you add it up, right? And to touch back on something that I previously said, in addition to all the tools and introspection and conversations, I did have a hope and a prayer. My faith in God definitely helps push me through the fear of the unknown. And I know for a fact that the blessings that I'm enjoying now, including this job, and the impact that I make is only by His hand. Finally, as you clear your own way, share your story. Your headlights may end up helping someone else clear their way. Thank you.
Said. So that concludes our speakers for the night. And those were some pretty great speakers, huh? Can we give a round of applause one more time? I think it's kind of beautiful how we all seem so different on the outside. You know, you just see the cover, but in reality, when we have conversations like this, we realize how much more similar we are. You know, we're a lot more interconnected than we think, and it's something I talk about with my friends all the time. I'm sure they're tired of hearing it, but I always go to them. I'm like, the world is so small, and it really is. We're so interconnected. We're so similar. We all go through struggles, even though it might be different. We still struggle, right? We're all human. We all have emotions. So it's kind of beautiful to see that and find comfort in just knowing that you're not alone. So whether you found your purpose or not, we hope that you can walk away with the fact that you want to find things that fulfill you, things that bring you joy, that bring you a sense of belonging, and that you just press into that.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. And I want to take this opportunity too to just say some thank yous. I want to say thank you to the Student Union Theater staff for helping us do this and make this happen. Thank you to the Learning Community staff, and thank you to the Learning Community Council, the LCEC for supporting us. Thank you to Helena for being our backbone and always helping motivate us and support us during this process. Thank you to all of you guys for coming out. We hope you got to take something away from this and you are as inspired as we were from all of this. And again, thank you to our wonderful speakers who absolutely killed it. I mean, round of applause. You guys, yeah.